Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Pro Wrestling Ponderings. I guess you could say this is the all AAW edition of the show. If this is your first time listening, or if you're on the AAW message board, thank you very much for downloading this little podcast and listening to our great interviews. Coming up in just a moment, you will get to hear what Dash and Tweek have to say about all their indie bookings in AAW, Ring of Honor, among other places. And then immediately following that, you will get to hear my post-show interview with Silas Young. Sorry about some of the background noise, and you might hear a door opening or two, but I think it really gives it that live-in feeling that we all love about radio shows. So please stay tuned for the two wonderful interviews, and then come back. I will be joined by my colleague and partner, Kevin Ford, and we will discuss AAW's Reign of Violence and also discuss the upcoming card on September the 5th. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Pro Wrestling Ponderings. I'm sitting here tonight with the Phoenix Twins, and I will let them introduce themselves.
I'm Dash Phoenix. This over here is Tweek Phoenix. You don't really need to talk, do you?
No, you got it.
Okay, we're the former AAW tag team champions, one of the best tag teams in the Midwest. At least some people say so. I don't know if you believe that, but I do.
No, that's cool. I think you nailed it. That's good. I'll let you answer that one.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is it that made you guys fans of wrestling when you were younger?
I think it's just the larger-than-life attitude that wrestling has. You start watching it back in the old WWF days when you got, like, Hogan and the Warrior, and my personal favorite, Demolition, because of the face paint. But I think when you're a kid and all that larger-than-life stuff, it really makes you, for some reason, it makes it seem more real.
I never really got into comic books that much. It was more wrestling, but in the 80s, it was so much like comic books that it's basically the same thing. So I think that's, just as nerdy kids, that's what immediately attracted us to wrestling.
Now, did you have a lot of friends that were wrestling fans as well, or was it just you?
We didn't have friends, sir. No, wrestling fans in that era did not have friends.
No.
You were lonely children.
Everybody thought wrestling fans were nerdy. You're kind of cast out because you liked wrestling. And,
listen, if you lived in the late 80s and you weren't a Hulkamaniac, I think you don't need to be in this country. Go back somewhere else. Wrestling was great, but no, we didn't have a lot of friends growing up. Just wrestling was our friend.
Okay, where were you guys raised, and were you guys kind of cut your teeth as wrestling fans?
Well, we were actually raised in a small town of West Illinois, which is just a little crap town in the middle of nowhere. I think pretty much when we were in kindergarten, I think they always asked us, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And our answer was always, we want to be pro wrestlers. So, I think it was pretty much definite from when we were that age.
There's actually one point when we were in school where they had our parents come in because they had asked us, what do you want to be when you grow up? And our answer was always wrestling. And they said, well, you need to talk to your kids because they need to pick something else. And
you can see how well we listen to the school system.
Our parents probably should have talked to us a little more because we ended up being wrestlers.
So, not a good job, Mom and Dad.
Now, which one of you is the older one?
I am. By 13 minutes, I beat him out. So
is that why you're the more talkative of the two?
Yeah, I think so. Plus, he never has anything interesting to say.
Sitting closer to the microphone helps, too.
Yeah, I'm a lot closer to the mic.
But since you didn't tell him which one you were, and it is radio, you probably need to say Dash Phoenix is older.
Yeah, Dash Phoenix is... That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that a boy.
Awesome. I'm obviously not the smarter one of the two, just the more talkative.
Now, I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to watch A Cut Above, the Ring of Honor DVD, but even Dave Prazak and Lenny Leonard were having trouble telling you guys apart just because you didn't have your names on the tights.
Yeah, that really works for the gimmick though, man. I mean, you want to do the switchback like in the old days. It really helps out. So
it helps a lot because he screws up a lot, and when he screws up, it's he tries to blame me, and
even when I screw up, I'm like, oh, Tweek just blew a spot. Awesome. Yeah, I'm not Tweek, by the way. I'm Dash, so it works out perfect.
Works out perfectly. So how did you guys get into the actual wrestling part of it?
We started getting trained in Spring Valley for Powerhouse. They actually trained us in this little itty-bitty garage. It had no heat. It had no air conditioning. So in the summer, it was hotter than hell. And in the winter, you had to wear 3 different layers plus stocking caps and bump on a ring that was frozen, which was always fun. It was us and one other kid. So for every show, there was only 3 guys to take up and set down the ring for 8 months? I think we did that.
Yeah.
And then we ended up hooking up with Rock and Randy. Randy Ricci out of Wisconsin, and he kind of helped retrain us a little bit and add a little bit more psychology and stuff. And we worked for Randy for a couple of years, and then we made our way here to AAW.
I remember when we first started, we were only 17, but that's when Illinois still had a wrestling commission. And the problem with that was you had to be 18 to wrestle. So I vaguely remember being in the room with the commission and them asking us how old we were, and the owner started to sweat a little because if he got caught, he could lose his license. But I remember them trying to sneak us on the shows when we were still 17.
Yeah, I think we had our first match 2.5 months after training.
Pretty much,
Which is way too soon to have a match when you're training. Way too soon.
I'm just very curious, what do you guys make for your first match? Since we're always here about starving independent wrestlers.
Do we get paid?
I think we actually got a hot dog bun. We didn't actually get the hot
They
dog.
said we would work up to the hot dog and then the mustard and then the ketchup, and it was something really to strive for.
In wrestling, you'll hear a payday of a hot dog and a handshake. We didn't actually get the hot dog. I think they waved to us when we left. We didn't really get a handshake, though. But the bun was rather tasty from what I remember. I think we found some mustard packets.
Pretty good payday for a first time out.
Yeah, and I wrestled him. We wrestled each other on our first couple shows, actually. So it was interesting to have two twins out there with not the same names wrestling against each other. It made absolutely no sense at all. None.
Now, who's the better wrestler?
I would definitely say Tweek is the better actual wrestler. I'm kind of just an idiot, and I fly all over the place and take crazy bumps and do a bunch of dives. But when it comes to the actual psychology, I think Tweek might have me beat a little bit.
Generally, when you see one of us doing some crazy flip through the air, it's not me. I have more common sense than that. But the good thing is he does it, and then I just take credit for it.
Yeah,
So.
it's always
Fair
awesome.
enough. Now, how did you guys get hooked up with AAW?
Oh, God, I don't remember. I think they were looking for a team to come in and work Boz and Danny Lawrence, who were the tag champions at a time. And I think Joey Eastman actually was one of the guys that put us over to get us into the company. And
We had built a pretty solid reputation with a lot of the guys, and I think guys like Ryan Boz and Eric Priest, who were pretty in at the time, they put us over really well. They got us in, got us looked at, and they just found stuff for us to do. So I think those two guys mainly was Ryan Boz and Eric Priest were the two guys that really got us in.
yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts on some of the teams that you've wrestled? You've wrestled the North Star Express a bunch.
yeah.
So what are your thoughts on those guys?
The North Stars are such dirty little bastards, those guys. No, they're really cool guys, and
People are throwing things at us.
But they're they're a pain in the ass. But they're really, really talented. They're probably one of the most known teams in the Midwest. At the time, we was wrestling Shane Hollister and Bryce Benjamin a lot. We had some really good matches with those guys.
I think our feud with the North Stars went on for about a year here, and a lot of people still come up to us at the shows and talked about the ladder match that we did with them. So, in that retrospect, I like their talent. They're a lot of fun to watch. We're not the best of friends backstage, but it was a lot of fun working with them out there, though.
Yeah.
Now, you guys also worked with the Motor City Machine Guns.
Oh,
who
yeah,
are
yeah.
Probably one of the better tag teams in independent wrestling.
right.
So what was it like working with those guys?
I'll actually give some advice to anybody who's going to be working the machine guns. Find your local gym, get on the cardio machine, and start running about 4 hours a day. Because when you do one of those matches, you are not going to stop moving. They blew us up, but they were really cool. It was actually a really fun match to do with those guys. That's kind of one of those matches that you do, and it's like, okay, now where do you stand? And once you work those guys, you kind of know where you're at as far as like on the tag level, because those guys are pretty much the most well-known independent guys, I think.
I remember going into that match thinking, I got great cardio. This is going to be fine. 2 minutes in, I am completely gassed because we were moving so fast in there. You don't stop, but it was a lot of fun. You just better be ready to breathe very heavily the entire match.
Yeah.
What about wrestling Irish Airborne?
Those guys are really good too. They actually just got here to AAW not too long ago, but they made a big reputation for themselves, like in Ohio, I think, out there, and they're a lot of fun. They're the same way. They're hard to keep up with, man. You gotta have your cardio ready to go when you're working those guys, because they keep going and going.
I think that was one of the teams we get compared to the most on the indies. It was always us. There was a couple others, but Irish Airborne's name always came up when they compared our styles to people. So it's a lot of fun having them in here now because we gel so well together because we basically do the exact same style. Yeah.
Now, it's been said that twins kind of have this thing where they can talk, or they don't have to talk, but you guys know exactly what you're thinking. Do you have that in the ring as well?
A lot of times, yeah. When he's out there and I know he's actually really hurt, he doesn't have to tell me. I know he immediately. I think it's more body language than some freaky ESP.
I know
thing,
exactly what he's thinking when I mess something up. I can just read his face.
He's just gonna wait about 5 minutes for us to come back through the curtain because I'm gonna tell him.
You idiot! It's all I hear all the time. God.
Usually from the apron, I'll just start yelling at him and.
Yeah, we're pretty well known for our fights backstage.
If you ask most of the guys that have worked with us, I don't want to be borderline unprofessional the way we are, but it's we argue so much about when we're going over stuff and talking to each other backstage. I think it's just how we talk to each other, but people think we're consistently arguing.
Ask Eric Priest about our legendary fights that we've had backstage, and he will go on forever. He will tell you. It's pretty sad, actually.
But you argue because you love each other and you care about each other, right?
No, he's a complete screw-up. That's why I yell at him.
I cannot stand his opinion. I don't want to hear it, and he wants to tell me anyway, so that's where the fights come from mostly.
Yeah. Either one of us can shut up. So,
now, if you guys are like this, what is it like at home? Are you guys like this with your families as well, or?
We were for the longest time. Now we've actually learned a really good system where he stays away from me and I stay away from him, and we very rarely talk unless we're in a car on our way to a wrestling show. And then outside of that, I don't even want to know him, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, back to some, a little bit back on topic, but how did you guys get hooked up with Ring of Honor?
Oh man, I think actually Dave Prazak put in a word for us. They were running some shows in Chicago, and they were looking for new tag teams because a couple of their tag teams had gotten hurt, and they were looking for new talent. And I think Dave put in a really good word for us, and we worked a four-way our first time out with the Briscoes and Jigsaw and Ruckus and Trick Davis and the guy who does the lumberjack gimmick, Mitch.
Grizzly Redwood.
Yeah, Grizzly Redwood.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. Again, that's one of those matches. It's nonstop. You gotta have your
I think
cardio.
Tyler Black had a lot to do with getting us in there, putting in good work. Because that's when he was really rising to like. They knew he was going to be their next big star, and I think they had asked him, does he know any teams? And he had told him, he's like, give us a tryout. And I think that's what ended up happening with it.
So where do you see you guys? Do you see your guys getting more bookings in Ring of Honor and kind of moving up the ladder a little bit, or?
I really don't know. It's always possible. We haven't really heard much lately, but with Ring of Honor, it's so hard to get in because they have so many talented guys that want to wrestle for them, and you really have to work your way in when they're in the area. And but yeah, we're hoping. I mean, it's always a fun time. The guys are insanely talented.
I think with AAW's new deal that they have going on with Dragon Gate, our next step may be trying to schmooze in with them a little bit, as we have a pathway now to get to them. So I think we may be trying that out. Yeah.
That leads into the next question. Obviously, AAW now has a deal with Dragon Gate USA.
Yep.
How excited are you guys just for the opportunity to possibly get into Dragon Gate and Dragon Gate USA?
I like a lot of the guys they use. We've met and have worked with the Young Bucks, who are extremely popular now. I think when we had gotten with them and worked with them, they were just coming up, and a lot of people didn't know them yet, but now everyone across the Indies know who they are. And so it's really exciting to watch those guys and be on shows with them and stuff. But it'd be a lot of fun to get in there. I think that'd be the next big step for us, is to get in something like Dragon Gate.
Dragon Gate would be really competitive too, because the guys that they have working there are just so fast and creative that you really do have to kind of stay on your toes to just keep up with those guys. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Some of the stuff that I've seen them do, it's insane.
Now, when did you guys wrestle the Young Bucks and where?
I think it was close to a year ago. It was for NWA, and it was in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. They had flown them in from LA. We were still with Joey Eastman at the time, and I remember us having a really good match. They had taped it for the NWA showcase they were doing at the time. Now, whether that ever made air or not on it, I think it was on the Colors Network or something.
Something like that.
Something like that. That's what it was taped for. Whether it was ever shown, I don't know, but it was supposed to be. Who knows what?
Our lost gem. See, now that no one's probably ever seen it, it was the best match we've ever had. It was awesome. You guys should see everything going on in this great match.
Now, obviously, big show coming up on September 5th.
Oh, yeah.
With the Dragon Gate guys coming in, and Danielson and the Young Bucks. What do you guys think? Do you guys think you'll be able to work the Young Bucks that night, or?
We would really like to. Like to. I think this is it's going to be a huge show for AAW. If it doesn't sell out, it's going to be extremely disappointing. I don't see a way it does not sell out with as many fans that are coming into Chicago for the Dragon Gate show. To be able to come see them cheaper the night before and way more intimate setting with only 300 people probably being a sellout here, maybe a little over 300. That's they're definitely going to sell out. So it's going to be a lot of fun to do a show like that.
And I assume you guys will be going to the Dragon Gate show even if you're not booked?
Probably, yeah. We'll probably go and hang out for a little bit, just kind of smooze with the boys and talk to everybody. I think we know a majority of the guys, at least the American guys that they're using. So we'll probably just go and hang out with those guys and try to smooze our way in as usual.
Now, Jimmy Jacobs has made his way over here. Jimmy, do you have anything to add?
No, don't mind me. I was just listening to the fucking Phoenix Twins ramble over here about their friends in this business and everybody they know, and they're buddies with everybody except for the foreigners, because apparently the Phoenix Twins don't like foreigners. So if you're Japanese, Mexican, German, Indian, don't come and see the Phoenix Twins apparently, because they're not friends with you.
I would defend that, but it's almost the truth, so I'm not gonna. Jimmy Jacobs is always around when there's a microphone. If you have one, just hold it in the air and he'll come running.
Well, he cuts one hell of a promo.
Oh,
so
yes,
it makes
yeah.
sense.
He can sense it. When he sees a live mic, he just slowly migrates over to it.
Listen, he didn't get really good at promos by staying away from the mics. He's practiced by just being around when there's one around.
And cutting in on other people, not a problem for Jimmy. It's okay.
Now, do you guys ever see yourselves kind of breaking apart and doing singles, or do you guys really like doing tag team matches?
We actually did that before. I actually took a leave from the business for like a little over a year, and he was working down in Nashville.
I was working around the loop for Nashville USA Pro Wrestling, and then I got in with Memphis, the one that Jerry Law runs out of Memphis, and I worked some shows there. It was different because I'm so used to doing the twin gimmick, and it was a lot different doing the single stuff, but I had a pretty good run down there. And Nashville, of course, is a lot different than up here, so it's a little bit different on there.
Anything else to add?
Anything you want to put in here, Jimmy?
No, I just love doing the twin gimmick, because they ain't real. It's a gimmick. They're not really twins, not really brothers. But as far as them being singles wrestlers goes, I will say that I wrestled Tweek one time. His name was not Tweek at that. No, it was Tweek.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
It was Damien. Who's Damien?
It's something like that. Yeah.
Tweek and Damien.
Yeah. Way back. Yeah.
Way back when, because I knew these guys when they were fat.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
This is when he was still wearing the berserker boots and running around.
No, this is the pogo
and
stick.
before, this is when I had the pogo stick.
Oh, the pogo
Jumping
stick.
Jimmy.
That's right. Yeah.
You had a pogo stick?
Jumping Jimmy Jacobs. See, he jumped because he had the pogo stick.
And my name was Jimmy, get it? So
Yeah.
hence I was jumping Jimmy.
Yeah. Such a creative gimmick these wrestlers have these days. We actually knew Jimmy. He was actually one of the first guys that we met when we broke into the business. He was wrestling for PCW. So on the very first show, we were backstage with Jimmy when he was first getting. I think he'd been in for a little bit longer than us, right?
Yeah.
He'd been for like 6 months at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
Before
it.
he dyed his hair.
Yeah. Oh, this is way back when he was still a normal person. Now it's just complete insanity.
What are you implying with that statement?
I'm saying that Jimmy Jacobs, although a very nice guy, may be just a little bit weird at times, and his wrestling promos aren't that far off from what he's really like. So he's a character in the wrestling business.
Have you taken a tour of the van?
I have not. I saw the van, and I know what happens in vans and weird guys like Jimmy.
I'm scared of the Jimmy Jacobs band.
I've heard stories about what goes on in there, and all I can say is, ladies, stay far, far away, because nasty things are happening.
All right. Now, when you guys are wrestling, do you guys have like real jobs, or do you just go out on weekends and wrestle?
Yeah, we have real jobs, but I mean, we mostly weekend wrestling's probably our main priority, and we're just wrestling all the time.
We're big on the entertainment aspect. We just got into doing stand-up comedy. We started in May. We've actually made pretty good strides in it so far. We've done some opening gigs for some guys who tour around a lot. We got a few more of those coming up, but it's weird. It's not that much different than wrestling, so it's still down the entertainment aspect of it.
All right. Is there? I usually let everyone plug their stuff, but since you guys are wrestlers, why don't you plug any future dates that you have in the area?
Well, most of them I think we're going to be, AAW is starting to run out in the Quad Cities, and so we're going to be out wrestling for AAW as much as we possibly can. So any show here in Berwyn or any show in the Quad Cities, we're definitely going to be a part of. I think outside of that, that's pretty much what we got going, right?
Yeah, we're wrestling almost exclusively for AAW right now, but we do have a lot of shows coming up in the winter and stuff. You want to go to myspace.com/Phoenix Twins. We update it quite often, and you can find our dates on there.
Any other websites or anything like that, or just your MySpace?
www.youporn.com. It's an awesome website. You guys definitely need to check it out. I don't personally know the owners, but God bless you.
Promoting porn on a wrestling website.
Yes.
It
Listen,
makes sense.
if
I know the crossover's weird. Wrestling fans would not want anything to do with porn
Oh, yeah.
whatsoever.
Morally upstanding wrestling fans think this is all dirty, but listen, the few out there who are deviants, youporn.com, guys. While you're on AAWwrestling.com, make sure to check out the porn too.
All right, thank you very much,
Thank
Tweek
you.
and Dash,
All right, thank you,
for
man.
taking time out of your busy schedules
Absolutely.
to join me. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks a lot. I'm sitting here now with Silas Young, who just got done unsuccessfully getting a bid for the AAW Tag Team belts, but on September 5th, he will be wrestling Bryan Danielson. So Silas, what are your thoughts on getting a chance to finally wrestle Bryan on the 5th?
I'm real happy about it. Brian's one of those guys that everybody really respects in wrestling a lot, and he's been all over the place. He's done just about anything and everything any guy could really hope to do in wrestling, and that's one of the guys that I've never had the chance to wrestle, and one of the guys I'm really looking forward to getting into the ring with. So pretty happy about it.
Now, we here at Pro Wrestling Ponderings only ask the pertinent questions, so the first kind of official one is, why Journey and why Don't Stop Believin' is your theme song?
I guess it's a good song. I've always kind of liked it, and I just figure everybody always uses hard rock stuff, and I just wanted to try and do something a little bit different, and it turned out to work. It's kind of just throw shit out there and see what happens, and it stuck and it worked, and here it goes.
Now, you've been with AAW since the very beginning, correct?
Not the very beginning. I mean, it was, AAW used to be owned by a different guy. And then Jim Jesus, took over, or Jim Lynham, and he took over, and then things started to change, and then they brought me in. But, I had done some stuff beforehand, and then when they took over, they brought me in, and I'd pretty much been with them since they started it. So, yeah, kind of since the beginning.
And kind of what are your thoughts on how it's evolved and how much it's improved in the last 4 years?
I think AAW is great. I mean, honestly, I really look forward to my Ring of Honor bookings. Them are always really, really good. But I always know that, besides those Ring of Honor bookings, I always know my AAW bookings are always going to be good. It's never one of those shows where you have to, worry about who you're going to be working with or anything like that. You're always going to be able to work hard, have great matches. It's a good place to work. There's a lot of really good young guys here. Everybody can, go out there and perform. So it's really what it's all about to me, at least. So.
And what do you see kind of as the future of AAW? And are you really excited to see you guys are going to be going to Moline and Davenport, Iowa? You've got the big Dragon Gate weekend. So what do you see as the future of AAW?
I think it's good things. They've done a lot of good things since they've been here. They've, built quite a crowd here. They got a good following. They're selling DVDs. They're moving out, they're trying to do different stuff, and they're doing it the right way. They're not half-assing it. They're doing stuff the way things should be done. So, I think only good things can come of it. So I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Now, when you were a youngster, is there a match or angle that really got you into being a fan of wrestling?
Not really. I got 5 older brothers. They were all wrestling fans, so I kind of grew up watching it. I was obviously a huge Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior fan as a kid. But, yeah, nothing specific. I just loved wrestling, as a kid growing up.
And what got you into actually becoming a wrestler then?
Well, that's kind of funny. Maybe in my high school years, I quit watching wrestling a little bit. And after high school, one of my buddies was starting to be an indie wrestler who is just, his name's Trilogy, who's a guy up in Wisconsin who only wrestled for a couple of years. And he was like, hey man, I'm having my first match, come check this out. And I was just, kind of bumming around, not really doing shit with myself. So came and checked out the match, and I was watching him. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I, really loved wrestling as a kid. And I was like, I can fucking do this. I can do this. So I kind of bit me there at that show and just figured out what I had to do to start training, started working out, getting in good shape, and started training then maybe about 6-7 months later.
And now, how did you get into Ring of Honor?
That's funny. I'd been trying to get booked with them, and send some tapes and stuff over the years, and never really got anything of a reply. And then my wife, who is Valerie Malone, she's her brother is Dysfunction, who's a wrestler. He does some IWA Mid-South stuff. Has done some CZW. Wrestles for the Juggalos, stuff like that, which he's one of my good buddies. I'd met her through him, and she had been around wrestling forever too as a kid growing up, and she was good friends with Dave Prazak, and they needed a girl for, I think, Kenny King or something like that when he was with Young, Rich, and Ready for Action. There you go, yeah, Young, Rich, and Ready for Action. And they were like, yeah, well, we'll give Silas a dark match too. So we went up there and got a dark match, did a good job. They used me the next night, and then I just continued keeping in touch with them, telling them, I appreciated the work and looking for more work, and it's been going ever since, thankfully. So.
Now, what was it like to wrestle Nigel McGuinness in Dayton when he was injured and really wasn't wrestling anywhere else, but you got a chance to wrestle him on that night in your second match?
That was really, really cool, actually. I kind of didn't really think about it until later that night, but I thought it was really cool for a guy that was hurt and that was their champion, that they trusted me that they can put me in the ring with them and not get hurt, me not be do anything for him to get hurt, and I thought we still had a really good match. I thought it was really good. I thought it was kind of a little bit of an honor and a little bit of show of respect, so I really appreciated that.
Now, you've been in the ring with Austin Aries in both AAW and Ring of Honor quite a bit. What are your thoughts on him?
Aries is great. He's very great at what he does. He's a very great wrestler. I've known Aries for well before he was in Ring of Honor, and he's always been a good guy. Great wrestler. He's always been willing to help me out along the way. So I've got nothing but respect for Austin Aries.
Now, as far as a guy like Tyler Black, you've kind of seen him grow in AAW, and now he's a huge star in Ring of Honor. What are your thoughts on him?
Tyler's great, you know. I remember when he first started wrestling, he was always, you know, respectful, always asking guys what they thought, always worked hard, always gave everything he can, you know. Like, for me, that's all I ask from guys is, you know, just respect the business and look like a wrestler, be a wrestler. And that's, you know, Tyler is the epitome of what a wrestler is. So Tyler Black is good stuff.
Now, you've actually had a dark match with WWE, and you were with Ohio Valley for a cup of coffee, correct?
Maybe half a cup of coffee.
So could you kind of explain the circumstances of that? Because one of the things I did is I tried to find you on Wikipedia.
Okay.
And you don't have a Wikipedia entry. So I think that's an injustice, first of all. So one of the things I was having trouble finding out was your WWE Ohio Valley stuff. So you kind of explain the circumstances of that without obviously hurting yourself. But
okay. Well, like, I'd been doing, you know, a lot of wrestling on the indies or whatever, and one of the guys that was really influential in training me, his name is Mike Mercury. He's from up in Green Bay. He's the same guy that trained Ken Kennedy. He called me up and he's like, hey, you know, New York's going to be in town, like, it was like maybe in a couple of days, and he's like, and they're looking for someone good, someone they want to use, they want to take a look at someone I had suggested you. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went there, and they had everybody booked, and they were like, you know, who will be a good heel, and there was like 3 of us there, and they're like, you know, Silas will be the best heel, so they booked me against Val Venus, and me and Val had a good match. Val Venus is a fucking great guy. Like, this is a guy that was totally like made that match about me, put me over, and basically what I think helped make me actually get a look at and have people give a shit. So me and Val Venus had what I thought was a really good match. Apparently other people did too. So after that match, I came back, and some of the agents talked to me, and then they said, hey, you're going to be in Indianapolis tomorrow night, right? And I said, yeah. And the next night I was there, and they came up to me, and they said, hey, you worked with Val last night? And I said, yeah. And they said, all right, cool, we got a spot for you on TV. So I did a match with The Miz. And then after I came back from working The Miz, Dean Malenko pulled me aside and talked to me a little bit, introduced me to Johnny Ace, talked to Johnny a little bit. Got his number, sent him some stuff. I ended up doing a show out in like Kansas City. I ended up doing like a Raw out there. And while I was out there, they didn't have anybody work or anything. I think we maybe rolled around in the ring a little bit beforehand. And after that, you know, nothing happened. And I was kind of like, oh man, this sucks. And I was going to leave. And then as I was walking out, Johnny Ace walked by, and so did Ken Kennedy, who, you know, he was like, I kind of came up with him in wrestling a little bit, and he was like, hey, Johnny, this is Silas, you should give him a job, he's great. And he's like, yeah, you know, I've been talking to him a little bit, and he's like, here's so-and-so's number. I think it was maybe Ty Bailey or something. And he's like, give Ty a call, we're going to send you down to OVW for a week, and we're going to take a look at you. So went down there for a week in like it was either November or December, and I did that for a week, and, you know, did good stuff. They said we're gonna give you good reviews or whatever. Like 3 weeks later, like a week before Christmas, they called me and said, hey, we're gonna give you a job. So they sent me all my paperwork, filled all the paperwork, went out and did their drug testing and all that, and everything came back all good. And then I was just waiting for them to give me a report date, and then like a week and a half later, OVW got closed down. They lost their developmental, and they're like, sorry, we're not going to continue putting your developmental through. We're trying to get everything going in Florida. So that's what happened with WWE. They told me, you know, it's nothing you did, you know, we like you, it's just they like basically, dude, it's just shitty circumstances, you know.
So have you considered going down to Florida at all, or no?
I mean, I would definitely go down to Florida. Like, I'm not gonna move down there and go train or anything, but like if I could get back within them and they wanted to offer me a developmental deal or something like that, yeah, I would definitely be interested in that, most definitely.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on Kennedy? Because you hear a lot of stuff about Kennedy, some good, a lot bad. What do you think of him? What do you think of him?
I kind of came up with Ken a little bit. So, you know, Ken's always been a good guy to me. I've traveled with him. Pretty funny dude. But, you know, I don't know. I've heard a lot of bad stuff about Ken too, so I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
my dealings with him have always been good.
Okay, because internet rumors are internet rumors. I was just
Exactly.
Since you're a guy that's talked to him, I was just wondering, what you thought of him.
Yeah, he's always been a good dude to me. So.
Do you still keep in contact with him? Or?
No, I haven't really talked to Ken much.
Is that kind of how wrestling goes? Sometimes you're in and out with people.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and one of my buddies were just talking the other day, and I was like, "Isn't it weird?" Because we were talking about this guy Shimdog from Minnesota, and I was like, "Man, I haven't seen that dude in like 4 years." I was like, "Isn't that crazy? How you go seeing these guys every single weekend, and then you won't see each other for like 2 or 3 years?" So it's funny you say that.
Now, as far as Ring of Honor being on pay-per-view and being on HDNet, has it helped you get more bookings with other companies as well, or?
Yeah, it has. I wish it would help more. For any people that are listening, I would love to be going over to Europe or Japan or Mexico or Canada, any of that stuff. I'm always looking to wrestle as many places as possible. But it's definitely helped. It's definitely helped.
Any particular? What's the actual production like of the HDNet? Is it more timing oriented, and are they more strict on types of moves you can do and stuff like that, or is it as loosey goosey as kind of the DVDs?
Well, there's definitely they definitely want to know what's going on. They have this huge production truck, and they're real cool, and they let everybody come in and check it out and take a look. And last time I was out there for some of their TV, I went in that production truck, and there's like 75 different screens that they're cutting to and stuff. So and I've seen the product a little bit. I don't get it on TV at all, but I've seen it on YouTube before, and I think it's good stuff. I think they're doing a really good job with it. I think they're figuring out how to tape wrestling and stuff, and I think each show's getting better.
Now you had a match with the Young Bucks. That was one of your HDNet matches.
Yep. What
are your thoughts on the Young Bucks? As they're kind of the rising stars of indie wrestling now. So.
Yeah, they are. They're two really young guys. They're brothers. Real good guys. Love wrestling. Very athletic. Yeah, we're definitely gonna go places. That's for sure.
So I usually like to give everyone who comes on the show a chance to plug their stuff. Since you're a wrestler, why don't you plug any future dates? If you want to plug AAW, coming back, this is your time.
Yeah, first off, I'm real excited about the match with Brian on September 5th. I think it's going to be great stuff. Then a few weeks later, I believe it's the 18th and 19th with Ring of Honor. I think those are going to be two great shows, too. And I'm looking to be back on some more of their TV coming up here. So I'm saying look out for Silas Young. You can always get a hold on me at myspace.com/SilasYoung123 for any merchandise, DVDs, or T-shirts.
Thanks a lot, Silas Young, for taking some time out, and enjoy the rest of your beer and your evening.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for sticking with us here tonight as we continue to discuss some AAW. Once again, my name is Jerome Cuson. I am the editor/webmaster of ProWrestlingPonderings.com. And if you want, you can follow us at Twitter at twitter.com/PWPonderings. You can also find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. It is Pro Wrestling Ponderings. Just search that and you'll be able to join our little group and get the links to all of our articles. And if you have any comments or questions about anything relating to this website, then please consider shooting us one at prowrestlingponderings@gmail.com. Now, I cannot do this website all by myself. I, of course, have some help, and I will let him introduce himself and kind of go over his duties here and some of the other wonderful things he does involving pro wrestling. So why don't you go ahead, my friend?
All right, everybody. I am Kevin Ford here at ProWrestlingPonderings.com. For this particular website, most of my duties so far have been in podcasting. I am the co-host with Jerome here, and I have done every single show we've done since about mid-May up till now. So that has been most of my contribution to the website so far. But I have done just a bit of writing here. I usually write about independent wrestling, but because I have loved CM Punk's character and heel turn so much in WWE, I wrote about a column about him over at ProWrestlingPonderings.com, so make sure to check that out. But what I am most known for is my column over at 411mania.com. I am a big-time Chikara fan, so I write the article Contemplating Chikara over there, which comes out every single Saturday. You can check that out. And I also review all the Chikara DVDs. I've reviewed every single show from May of 2008 up until now, so you can go ahead and check all those out as well. There's my Anniversario Yin and Anniversario Yang reviews, which are up this week, so make sure you check those out. And that's pretty much the contributions I have in the internet wrestling world at the moment.
So let's get on to discussing the AAW Reign of Violence 09 show. And I would also like to mention that before the show even began, there was a little bit of excitement as it was announced that coming back on September the 5th, Bryan Danielson will be making his AAW debut, wrestling Silas Young. And the North Star Express return to AAW with Eric Cannon, and they will be taking on the Chikara trio of Jigsaw, Hallowicked, and Gran Akuma. Kevin, what are your thoughts on these two big matches announced for September 5th?
I'm very excited for both of them. Obviously, as I just said, I'm a huge Chikara fan, so seeing Hallowicked, Jigsaw, and Gran Akuma, as well as the North Stars and Eric Cannon, who I know are Midwest wrestlers and regulars, so, I mean, it's not a big deal they're there, but I think it's awesome that these 6 guys are going to be facing in a match. I think that has potential to steal the show, and it'll be just a really great contest and a showcase of what all these guys can do, especially to an audience who may have never seen what Akuma, Jigsaw, and Hallowicked can do. So I'm pretty excited about that. I am sort of curious about Akuma and Jigsaw's interaction since they have a big feud going on in Dragon Gate USA at the moment, and definitely do not get along in Chikara World either, so we'll see about that. And Danielson and Silas should be very good. I think that'll be a very solid professional wrestling match, so it seems like the double main event for those shows will be good.
All right, so let's get to the show. What I want Kevin to do is Kevin will read the results, and I'll give some of my thoughts, as I'm the one who kind of follows AAW, and Kevin is a curious bystander. Hopefully we can get him some AAW DVDs to watch.
Yeah, that'll for sure happen. Especially these last couple of shows have really kind of piqued my interest, and so I may have to cave and pick up some of these awesome AAW shows.
All right, Kevin, why don't you go ahead and start giving us some results and news.
All right, I guess I'll start off with the first match here. We had Zero Gravity of CJ Esparza and Brett Gackia taking on Knight Wagner and Jordan McIntyre, and they won with the Flippy Cup Special, as it says in the results. And then afterwards, we had a singles match between CJ Esparza, who defeated Nick Brubaker in an expedient fashion with a shooting star elbow. We had a short promo from the House of Truth about the upcoming dog collar match. And speaking of, we had Mason Beck, who was the enforcer for the House of Truth, defeating Juice Robinson with a powerbomb. And after the match, Val Malone led the team of the House of Truth out to the ring, who they proceed to attack Juice. But then the team of Suds and Buds, better known to you as Dan Lawrence and Silas Young, ran out to attack, which prompted the double dog collar match to occur. And the House of Truth retained their tag titles against Dan Lawrence and Silas Young in this match. And then after that, we had Crotch defeating Nick Cutler with a stunner. We sort of had a continuation of the storyline with his sister and Darren Corbin going on, with his sister coming out wearing a North Star Express t-shirt, and she told her brother she now had some friends and people behind her. However, Shimmer champion Mischief came out and sprayed green mist in Nikki's face, and so that should obviously be leading to something down the line. Dave Prazak addressed the crowd next, saying that AAW champ Jay Bradley was not in the house tonight. However, he will be back on the Us vs. Them show on September 6th to defend his title. Then we had a team of Faith and Nothing consisting of Christian Faith and Vincent Nothing, who defeated the Irish Airborne and the Phoenix Twins in a three-way tag match. We had a promo for the Dragon Gate USA show at the Congress Theater that is taking place on September 6th as well. And then the main event, we had a tag team match: Danny Daniels and Ryan Boz against Jimmy Jacobs and Merrick Brave. Whoever was pinned was banished for AAW for 6 months. Merrick Brave was the one who got pinned, and he cut a promo afterwards saying not only would he be gone from AAW for 6 months, but it looks as if he was not returning to the company. So that is that. That looks to be the show. Jerome, you were obviously there in person. What were your impressions of the show overall?
I have to say that even with a talent base that wasn't as strong as Scars and Stripes back in July, that it came across as a better show for the most part. There were 3 big matches that I think really kind of carried the night. Obviously, when you start out with Zero Gravity and Knight Wagner and Jordan McIntyre, it kind of shows that, things were not, the big stars weren't necessarily there, but I think that AAW did the best with what they had. The fact that you have a guy like CJ Esparza, a guy who doesn't have a lot of experience in wrestling, as is obvious, he has to wrestle twice in the night, but I think it really put him over that he was able to win 2 matches, 1 tag team, won singles, and I think that is one of the benefits when you don't have your A-level guys like the North Star Express, Eric Cannon, and Tyler Black there. It opens up opportunities for other guys to kind of step up and to see what they have, and I think that is exactly what a guy like Juice Robinson did as well. He got to wrestle Mason Beck, and I think these are two very green guys. I was told that Juice Robinson has been in the business for a year, but I've also heard that he's very talented and has some really good timing in the ring from management. They seem very high on him, so he is definitely someone that you should watch over the next few months and over the next couple years. Look for the name Juice Robinson across the indie scene, particularly in AAW, since this is the place for him to cut his teeth. House of Truth, Dan Lawrence, Silas Young, having a fairly epic AAW tag team title match. I think that the only negative of this match was that Silas Young was the one who took the pinfall, and I think that's a negative thing in my mind, because you're having this guy wrestle the guy who's the best wrestler in the world, and Bryan Danielson. And although Bryan Danielson has never been in AAW, his reputation is obvious to almost every independent wrestling fan out there. They know what he's all about. They know that he is just absolutely tremendous in the ring, and I thought it was unfortunate that Silas is the one who took the pinfall. But last month I kind of ripped at the company for having a match that was too violent and kind of crossed the line, but I thought that this match, while it had its violent moments for certain, there was it was a controlled atmosphere, there was blood, but I don't think that they crossed the line in this situation. It was just a good old-fashioned blood fest, and I thought it was a great way to sell the feud. And then we had an intermission, and we had Crotch and Nick Cutler having their one-on-one match. Really not a whole lot to say about this other than Crotch got the win, and it was more about the angle afterwards involving Mischief and the easiest payday of her career. So that was interesting, and Dave Prazak coming out and addressing the crowd, and Jay Bradley not being there was probably for the best, simply because if you don't think you have a good enough challenger for him, then there is no reason to just, pull names out of a hat and have him wrestle guys. You can take with that comment what you will. And then we had Faith in Nothing against Irish Airborne and the Phoenix Twins. This was an absolute star-making match for Christian Faith and Vincent Nothing. They won the match, defeating Irish Airborne and Phoenix Twins. And they absolutely came out looking like stars. And I think that this is everything that AAW could have wanted and more, because not only did they win the match, but you could believe that this tag team is talented enough to now go and challenge the House of Truth, whether it be in September or October. So we will see what happens there. And I should also point out that it is not listed in the results, but the House of Truth actually came out and kidnapped one of the Phoenix Twins. I believe it was Tweek. But that is also something to look forward to for the future. And of course, in the main event, you had Danny Daniels and Ryan Boz defeating Jimmy Jacobs and Merrick Brave. Merrick Brave obviously done with AAW now. There were tables, ladders, chairs. There was a plunger that was used. And I forgot to mention this. There was a very special weapon that was introduced in the double dog collar match, and it was also used in this match as well. Kevin, we saw I don't know if this is the debut, but for the first time in quite a long time, the Russian sickle was used in a professional wrestling ring.
Yeah, definitely not the first time, but I'm racking my brain very quickly, and I couldn't tell you the last time I saw the Russian sickle in a match.
Indeed, and Merrick Brave came out and said that he was done with AAW. So obviously the best to him as he forges on, I assume, with his wrestling career and is done with AAW. And I have to say that it's very ironic that I saw Merrick Brave's last match in AAW, because this past weekend I was also watching the FIP show where Merrick Brave unfortunately had his neck broken in a match with Tyler Black against the Briscoes. So obviously hope everything's okay there, and wish the best of luck to Merrick Brave in all of his future endeavors.
That sounds like a very familiar tagline.
Yes, indeed, but unlike the WWE, I am not releasing Merrick Brave. I am sincere in hoping that he has a good rest of his life, even if it does not involve wrestling, because wrestling is a brutal sport, and whenever you get your neck broken and you can walk away and have a couple more years added to your career, I think it's for the best for him.
Absolutely, and I think I kind of want to touch on something you mentioned earlier. I think it was pretty ballsy of AAW to put on a show this weekend, especially like you said, Ring of Honor was running their TV taping, so guys like Tyler Black and Cole Cabana couldn't make the show. And even in Chikara with Young Lions Cup, the North Star Express and Air Can are semi-regular, so them being booked wasn't a big surprise or anything. But even guys like Shane Hollister and some other Midwest guys were booked for this weekend. And so, even AAW was missing some of that talent just, by chance. So I think it was a good idea to run a show this weekend so they can get some of the younger talent over who maybe doesn't get a ton of time, in the ring as they usually do, and maybe overshadowed by some of the bigger stars. So I think it was a very risky but seems to be a better move in the end because, as you said, the attendance seemed to be up quite a bit from the July show, which had a lot more names, and I'm putting that in quotes, on it.
Well, I'm not sure if it necessarily had anything to do with the talent or the matches involved, but I think it had more to do with the timing. The last show took place the same night as UFC 100. It started at 5 o'clock instead of 7:30. So I think that this show worked out a lot better because it started at a regular time. The only thing that was going on was Strike Force. So I think that the timing and everything worked out for the best.
Very true. Yeah, I guess they had that kind of luck going for them. And I guess, were there any other wrestling shows going on in the Chicagoland area that weekend? It was like IWA Mid-South or anybody running?
IWA Mid-South ran Bellevue the night before and drew a whopping 32 people. Or 35 people.
That makes me laugh. That's pretty funny.
35 people. I'm sorry. I don't want to jip IWA there. So yes, indeed, September the 5th is the big Dragon Gate weekend. And I emphasize that it is a weekend because AAW will be running that night. Bryan Danielson, Silas Young, the big 6-man tag. We can only assume Jay Bradley is going to be defending his championship. And we can also assume that the House of Truth will be defending their belts. And also, would like to point this out, the Young Bucks will be making their AAW debuts. Folks, there is absolutely no excuse for you not to be able to see this show. If you are driving in from out of town to see Dragon Gate, please consider coming out that night as well to see some of the great stars that you will see at the Dragon Gate show wrestle in kind of a smaller atmosphere. It is going to be a ton of fun seeing these guys. And also, you can drink beers for $1. So there's also that.
And aren't the front row tickets $60 cheaper than Dragon Gate USA?
Yes, the tickets are just $15, and it costs $10 to get in the door for general admission. Really isn't an excuse to check out your first AAW show. They have a ton of DVDs on sale as well. So guys, girls, I know Kevin, if he lived within a 5-hour radius of Chicago, I know he would be at the show. I know a lot of people who are writing for the site would love to come to the shows. But if you are in the Chicagoland area, please come to the Berwyn Eagles Club on September the 5th. I think this is going to be not only one of the best AAW shows, but this is going to be one of the best indie shows in the Chicagoland area for 2009.
No doubt. And that's no BS either, because I've driven 5 hours to Philadelphia, and I'll be driving more than that to New York City in September. So if I indeed did live in a 5-hour radius, I'd be driving out to that show and the Dragon Gate show. And there is, of course, the Ted Petty Invitational that weekend as well. If you want to go Friday night, fine, but make sure you go to AAW on Saturday night, people. Let's be real.
So, Kevin, do you have anything else to add about AAW for this night or at all?
Like you said, I think both the double dog collar match and the Loser Leaves Town tag match both seem like matches worth seeing, and it's something that I'm very interested in. I think I'll pick up this show when it comes out in, I guess, about a month's time.
Indeed, and I will be having some AAW DVD reviews coming up on ProWrestlingPonderings.com. You're not going to find those in a whole lot of other places, folks, so definitely be checking out the website for that. Also, check the message boards around. I will be posting them there as well. And in addition, we will have a Pro Wrestling Ponderings banner up on the AAW site. And in exchange, we're going to have the AAW wrestling banner up on our website as well. So definitely click on those banners and let's help support each other. And we will also be discussing another wrestling company that Pro Wrestling Ponderings is going to be forming a partnership as well.
Yes, and if you are giving us a chance for the first time, again, thank you for doing that. We'd love to hear comments and stuff from you. You can, of course, leave a comment on the website, ProWrestlingPonderings.com. But we also have an email, ProWrestlingPonderings@gmail.com. If you'd like to send us comments, questions, anything you want to send us, just please, ProWrestlingPonderings@gmail.com. Even if you have general questions for us that you want me and Jerome to answer about wrestling or whatever else, we'd like to do maybe a mailbag show or answer some questions on the air. So definitely be sending those our way. And again, that's ProWrestlingPonderings, all one word, @gmail.com.
Definitely be checking out later this week. If you are a fan of Chikara, we are going to be discussing the big Young Lions Cup weekend. We will also be discussing the arrest of Kurt Angle, as well as a discussion of the Ring of Honor HDNet tapings. Plus, Kevin, you apparently have this big surprise for me on Wednesday. Now, I assume that you are not going to give it away on this podcast, correct?
Hell no, but I'll tell you something. If you know where the origins of myself and Jerome's partnership was at the old independent wrestling website, thecoolkidstable.net. And I'll tell you, if you were as big a fan of that website as I was, you're going to want to stick around for this announcement, folks, because it's a pretty big deal, I think.
Kevin, you both scare and excite me at the same time.
The Pro Wrestling Ponderings family is about to get just a bit bigger, folks, and it's going to be for the better, I believe. So if you're listening now and this is your first time, now is the time to hop on the Pro Wrestling Ponderings bandwagon, because things are only going to get bigger and better from here, and we've already got a hell of a website going. So that's all I got to say about that.
Yes, I am actually building more blocks on the bandwagon for everyone to join.
Sweet.
All right, so for Kevin Ford, I'm Jerome Cuson. Check us out, ProWrestlingPonderings.com. Thanks again for listening.